Nope, not yet.
Yeah, wait a second. Yeah, maybe now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good
maybe now.
evening, friends.
Good morning, good afternoon.
That's going to be an echo, because it did start playing and I didn't think I had it muted. Anyway, we are fine. We're all fine. Drink your coffee, everybody. I told you I would be nervous and mess things up, but we're fine. So, welcome to Trophy Gold. We are playing a new role-playing game published by The Gauntlet that is based on Trophy, but is about treasure hunting, hence the name Trophy Gold, and for other reasons as well, as people will see. So, with me today are some good friends from the Variant Roles community, and we're all going to be learning this together. And I mean that very truly, because while I have read the game, and I have watched several actual plays, I have listened to other actual plays, I have not played this before, and neither have the other folks here, so please bear with us. We're all figuring it out together, and that's part of the fun. So, let's just very quickly go around, just introduce yourself very quickly, and then we're going to get into the game and the characters after that. Going clockwise, Mike.
So we're just introducing ourselves.
Just introduce yourself real quick, yeah.
Okay. I'm Mike, at Silent Chariot. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's good enough. Next, Kaya.
Hey everyone, I'm Kai Gaston. You can find me on Twitter at Crit Charisma, and I'm just happy to be here. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Happy Sunday. Chase.
Hi, my name is Chase. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me on the internet at Fromonger, mostly on Twitter. Happy Daylight Savings.
Happy end of daylight saving to you as well. I'm so glad. Like, I don't care which one we pick. Let's just pick one and stay on it. Either with or without. Because, yeah. It'll be nice driving tomorrow morning and having light, though. And Jake.
Hey everybody, I'm Jake Friday, he, him pronouns. You can find me on Twitter at Jake Friday.
Excellent. And I'm Kyle. Also, I use he, him pronouns, and you can see everybody else's pronouns here on the overlay. And a Technoscald on most social media. And also on Twitch here where I stream other games. But this, because I love Variant Roles, is my home. And so I'm glad to be doing this here. So, what is Trophy Gold? Trophy Gold is a collaborative storytelling game, right? It's a role-playing game, but it is not. It focuses more on everyone here has more sort of authorial control than in a traditional game, right? Though certain, I mean, there still is kind of the game master player structure, but as always, you play your characters and you have significant control there, all the control there, and I will be, as always, and half of you have played other games with me before, and so you know, I like to use what you give me in creating the world, or I'll ask questions where I'm looking to you for specific details about the world, and maybe I'll ask, like, what do you see about, let's say, this isn't a thing that's going to be in the game, so I'm just going to make up an example, right? What do you see about this furniture that tells you that it was, originally owned by rich people and has been disused over the years, that sort of thing, right? Where I'm giving you the kind of the feel of it, but you can make up. What do you see in this room that tells you that the person who lived here loved swords, etc. So there's a lot of that sort of kind of shared authorial stuff that I like to bring in, and Trophy Gold certainly lends itself to that. If you've played Cthulhu Dark, some of this will seem familiar. If you have played Blades in the Dark, a few pieces of it will seem familiar. If you have played old school D&D, the adventure itself might feel familiar to you. We're going to be using Tomb of the Serpent Kings, which is sort of, it's supposed to be a teaching module to teach players old school D&D principles. but it is certainly, the mechanics themselves are not like D&D, but the feeling of it and some of the tropes in it, some of them are. Our treasure hunters are fragile. You, at a max, only ever have 5 or 6 hit points. But damage is not the same. Like, that doesn't compare directly, right? Damage doesn't work the same way. But your characters are fragile, and they, over time, the goal is they are trying to accumulate treasure faster than they accumulate debts, so that they can reach a certain amount of gold that would help them fulfill their drives. As this is going to be a short arc, we're never really going to get to the amount of gold that will fulfill their drives, but it certainly informs your characters, right, as we go forward. Cool. So, principles for players. I want to just take a moment to go over these. Because of the fact that the mechanics in this game, as you've seen and we'll talk about, are very light, a lot of this is you describing what you do in the world. You are a treasure hunter. You're playing explorers. Ask questions to me and to each other. Kind of try to interact with the world. You know, show curiosity. Don't just, oh, he said that this floor is dusty. You know, ask questions about what's on the floor. What about the ceiling? What about the walls? What if I do this? You know, interact with things, and that's what will make things happen. The other two principles are play to win, right? This is a game where characters, the choices that you make are sort of their, as it were, kind of guiding spirit. Like, this isn't the sort of game where you say, well, I'm playing, not that this stat even exists, but in D&D, sometimes somebody will say, and I have done this many times myself, it fits that other game, I'm playing a low intelligence person, so I'm going to make dumb choices and it'll be funny, and it will, and that works great in those games. In this one, you want to try to make good choices because your character's life will depend on those. At the same time, play to lose, because at some point, your character's luck is going to run out. Dice will go bad, something unexpected will happen, etc. And when that happens, right, we'll all kind of lean into that moment and see and kind of focus in on what happens as somebody either, you know, gets overtaken by the dark forces in the dungeon, or dies, or somehow, you know, there's a bunch of different ways it could be, right? They could just kind of be you know, given over to the what in Trophy Core is called, you know, the haunted forest. Here we're not in a forest, we're in a tomb, right? But yeah, we'll lean into that. You know, certainly the GM has principles as well. If you've played any Powered by the Apocalypse game, like Dungeon World or whatever, they're basically the same, right? I want your characters to win, but I want them to win by overcoming meaningful challenges, right? I want you to figure out. Sometimes I'll give you a challenge, and I don't know what the answer is. Y'all have got to figure out some way, because there's no obvious way to solve it, right? And you come up with a plan, and we're like, well, that sounds cool. Let's roll the dice and see if it works. That sort of thing. Cool? Cool. All right, so we are going to pull this up here. Let's talk about your characters. In Trophy Gold, your characters are mechanically pretty thin, right? I want to go around, and if you already have this, you can tell me what it is, and if you want to work through it, we can do it together. That's fine. First of all, does everybody have a name, occupation, and background for their characters?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's go around and let's see what those are. Kaya, what is your name, occupation, and background?
Let's see. My name is Desirim.
Desirim.
I once was a runaway Kingsguard, now a historian.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you were a Kingsguard, you ran away from that, that was what you were. Now in the party, you're a historian.
I'm a
So
historian.
We don't have to work this out now, but it's interesting that somebody would have left that sort of service. Maybe so. First of all, your character. What are their pronouns?
I guess she, her. It
Okay,
just, or
whatever.
they, them. I
just didn't want to assume.
Yeah, you're good. They are generated randomly.
Right.
They can be whatever they feel like they want to be.
Sure. Yeah. That's whatever you. It's your character. Hopefully the music isn't too loud. By the way, for those listening on or watching the stream. And by the way, the music is from Michael Gelfi. I'll link them later. But he was kind enough to give permission for us to use his Serpent Temple Depths ambiance for the game. All right. Which reminds me, I need to fix a thing here. Serpent Temple Depths. There we go. Now I can hear it too. Haha. Hopefully it doesn't double up on there. Somebody will let me know if the audio's bad. So your character. So what is it about being a historian that makes them want to go into dark dungeons?
As in, what is their desire?
That's a good point. What is their desire?
Yes.
Or drive, or whatever.
To find the artifact that proves the king's true nature.
Oh, that is perfect. Oh my
I love
gosh.
it. Like when I generated, I was like, screenshot. You are mine now.
Excellent.
Can't wait for you.
Excellent. Yes.
Can't wait for you to dive 5 minutes in.
Hopefully not. All right, let's go back around. We'll come back around to equipment and so forth. But next, Chase, tell us about your name, occupation, and background.
Yeah. I will be playing Aram, who uses he/him pronouns. I was once an escaped cultist, now a trophy hunter. I have one desire: to bribe the Justicars to erase my crimes.
Oh.
Nice.
Also, maybe kill super fancy monsters. That's just sort of a hobby, though.
Just for kicks.
Just for kicks, yeah. Or get killed by them, and that's one way to not worry about your past crimes anymore. So you're a cultist. Okay. All right. That's going to... So, and for those watching, what the thing is your occupation is what you do now, and it gives you a set of skills. And your background is what you used to do, and that gives you a skill. Skills don't necessarily have a number with them. If you have the skill and what you're doing, you will, every time you do something that has a roll, will ask, does one of your skills apply to this? And if it does, it gives you a bonus to your roll. It's kind of a you have it or you don't sort of thing. And whether or not applies is just kind of based on the fiction, the story that we're telling. That's the thing. Cool. Jake, what about your character?
I'm playing Ced, the formerly abandoned, or he is an abandoned squire, and now his occupation is an antiquarian. He/him pronouns.
Cool. Was a squire, now an antiquarian. What's his drive?
His drive is to publish his discoveries from ancient Kaldur.
Okay, cool. Maybe that's why he's delving into these things to get more discoveries or evidence or whatever. Cool. Excellent.
Definitely.
And Mike.
My character is Parda, he/him pronoun. Was a king's guard, now is a woodcutter. And his desire is to resurrect the cult of Darwin.
So this is interesting. We have a number of connections here because we have two former King's Guards, and then we have a former King's Guard who wants to resurrect a cult, but one of the other characters is a former cultist. So y'all will decide, not me, obviously. If those linkages mean anything, right? Did your characters know each other when they were Kingsguard? Is it the same cult? Are they competing cults, right? The antiquarian, and former squire, was the knight that you served related to the Kingsguard in some way? Your discoveries, do they relate to the King's true nature or to one of the cults? Y'all can decide that. But I see some interesting possible connections there. Now let's talk about equipment. There are three basic kinds of equipment, but there's only two at the outset. You have backpack equipment and you have combat equipment. So backpack is basically strange and useful equipment that you kind of start out with, and then you have certain slots where you say, oh, I really wish that I had this thing right now. Let me mark this on my character sheet of one of my 3 open slots, and there you go. If you have played Dungeon World with adventuring gear, or if you have played Blades in the Dark with how its load work, it's basically the same, except that there's 3 that you start out with to kind of get you primed and that give you something unusual to be different. So, Chase, why don't you tell us about if you have any... Oh, and then, sorry, combat equipment. Combat equipment, if you have any, is basically armor or weapons. The thing is that armor and weapons increase your burden, which is sort of the minimum amount of treasure you need to find on any given outing so as not to be overrun with debt. They are your debts, basically. Think of it as taking out a loan to pay for your plate armor because you are a poor, runaway Kingsguard. You didn't have any gold, so you had to borrow money and you got to pay it back, and that's how you're paying for your plate mail or whatever, right? And then weapons, obviously, very similar. So that's how combat equipment is. There's found equipment, which by its name you can tell we don't start out with. You find it. Let's see. Aram, right? Aram?
Yeah.
How do you say it? You tell me. I just wrote
Aram,
down.
that was just
Aram.
my knee jerk.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't see it written. I'm just making my notes. So, Aram, what equipment do you have?
So I had not completely gotten to equipment yet.
That's fine.
And wanted to discuss even.
Perfect.
That
is no. So there's 2 ways we can do this. Either you can roll a dark die and a light die, and I'll talk about that to the watchers in a minute, or you can pick from, I think it's page 7 in the PDF that I sent you. You should be able to pick one of those sets of 3. So while he's looking at that, Trophy Gold uses D6s, but you need 2 different basic colors. We'll call them dark dice and light dice. It doesn't actually matter if they're dark or light as long as you know which is which, because you'll build a dice pool during the game, and then the highest roll out of that dice pool is what determines certain things, but also whether or not it's dark or light will determine some other things. And also, well, we'll see in combat, having more dice makes it more likely that you'll win, but also more likely that you'll lose, sort of. So it's awesome. So, backpack equipment.
yes.
What do you got?
I really like the one that starts off with a bear trap, 6 uses of bear or deer musk, and soap.
Okay, yeah, 6 uses of that, and how that soap becomes useful is entirely up to you. You'll find creative ways, right, to do that. For combat equipment, do you intend to take any sort of armor or weapon? That's like on page 4. You'll increase your starting burdens by 1 for each piece of combat equipment you select. Here's the thing. Armor lets you absorb damage during 1 combat roll, and you mark it used, and it's used up until your next next outing, which by the way also is where that burden comes from because you have to pay to have it. That's part of the burden is getting it repaired. Weapon lets you participate in a combat role, so you need a weapon, or you can find one perhaps. But when you participate in a combat role, you put yourself at risk of injury. But if nobody has a weapon, it's going to be really bad if you fight a monster. So, do you want to take any combat equipment?
Yes, I would love to take some armor. Probably just some chainmail or something, and
Okay.
I'll go with a spear because keeping things at a distance sounds attractive to me.
Excellent. So you've got chainmail and a spear, so mark those down and also increase your starting burdens by 2. So you need, during this incursion, to find at least 3 gold. Because that's what your burden is set at 3, right? For now. It can actually get higher. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Exciting.
Right. Said, how about you? What about your backpack equipment?
Well, I randomly rolled for it.
Perfect.
And I got a bunch of glass marbles, which I look forward to figuring out how to use, and a pot of tar, and a scroll tube mystery scroll inside of it.
So that's kind of perfect for an antiquarian, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll figure out what that means. I don't know what that's going to mean. You'll tell me. We'll work it out together if we need to.
Definitely.
Cool. Any combat equipment?
Took a chainmail shirt.
Okay.
No weapons, just the protection of a chainmail shirt.
Makes sense. Perfect. So, hopefully if you do find a way to participate in a combat or something bad happens to you, then you can mark off your armor and you won't take the ruin for that. Ruin is... This game has like inverted HP, right? Ruin is how much damage you've taken. If it gets to 6, you die. Or you become overwhelmed by the dungeon and join it or whatever, right? You'll decide, or the fiction that we're in will decide, right? What is the actual outcome. Parda, how about you? How about your equipment?
I have a 2-foot-long chain, a wooden labyrinth game, and manacles.
Interesting. A labyrinth game. That's... Huh. Cool. And yeah, and a 2-foot chain. That could be useful. I could see chain and manacles being useful in a few different ways. Are you taking any combat equipment?
Yeah, I have a sling, a club, armor, gauntlets, and a shield.
So you're taking a total of 4 pieces of... You're taking 2 weapons and 2 pieces of armor?
Yes.
Okay, so your starting burden is going to be 5 total. So if you don't find 5 treasure for yourself, then your character will lose when they come back. That's a lot to take.
I just wrote down what was on that character.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's more likely they'll survive, but they're heavily indebted now. If you take all of that, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Certainly up to you. Yeah. But at the same time, you are well prepared. All that debt allows you to be well prepared, so it's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
Desirim, how about your equipment?
So, I got the same thing. I got it's actually 24 feet of chain.
24 feet? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had to look up if it was 1 tick or 2 ticks.
I thought
one tick means foot.
Yeah, but it's on mine. It says it is. Oh, you are right. My old eyes. Holy
Dude,
crap!
I had to Google it because I couldn't remember if 1 tick meant foot or 1 tick meant inch.
I didn't forget that part. Just
Yeah, I read that wrong too then.
yeah, my eyes
yeah.
just. Wow,
Yeah,
24 foot of chain. Well, that's helpful if you go like into a pit or something. For
Right.
sure.
But I had the same thing: 24 feet of chain, and manacles, and a wooden labyrinth game. So I didn't know if I should re-roll.
That is up to you.
equipment.
You can take the same thing if you want, or you can pick a different one, or you can re-roll at random. Totally your choice.
I think I want to re-roll at random.
Okay.
Just to see. So what do I do? Do I just roll 1 dark die and 1 light die,
Exactly.
and see what it matches?
Yep.
And is it for backpack equipment?
Yes.
Actually, hold on 1 second.
So 1 or 2. I got a 5 and a 3. So
5 and a 3. That's the same thing.
is it really?
Yeah.
No.
You could
Backpack
reverse it.
equipment?
Yeah, five. Well, it depends. Sorry, which one is maybe which one is the dark die?
The 5.
Okay, yeah, 5 and 3 gets you 24 foot of chain, manacles, and wooden labyrinth game. That's pretty funny. But you could reverse it. This is what I do when I roll 2 dice, and it's something like this. I reverse them, and I say,
Okay.
well, what's the 3 and 5? So it's up to you, but that would give you the one kind of to the lower left of that.
I don't even see that.
So that would give you journal and black and so in the middle column, the 5th one down
Okay.
on page. Oh, same on page 7.
Page 7. Journal. Which one?
If you want to use that one, it's journal and black and invisible inks, grease 6 uses, dice 6 normal, 3 trick.
Sure. I like it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Cool.
So we'll do that instead. And I will keep the mall that was
Okay.
randomly.
All right. So
Does
you'll
that
have
take my burden from 2 to 1 since I don't have the 24 feet of chain, or?
no. Everybody starts out with 1 burden. The backpack equipment doesn't affect your burden.
Gotcha.
It's the
my
combat
burden-
equipment that affects your burden.
Got it. So the mall is what's giving me 2 burden?
The mall gives you 1 burden. Everybody starts out with at least 1.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we start out with 1, and then that gives me 1 more. Okay. Cool. There we go.
Yes. So, cool. All right.
I realize I have this. So this, imagine this, like, but wooden for my wooden labyrinth game.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
cool.
Very nice. That's good. Okay. So, the next thing is rituals. If you choose to have any, you certainly do not have to. Rituals are spells. Rituals in this game can be almost as dangerous to the caster as to anyone else. So rituals don't increase your burden; they increase your starting ruin, which is basically an effective. Mathematically, it's like having fewer hit points. But you can either. So what you can do is, if you wish, if you look on page 8, you can roll a dark and a light die. You look at the line that matches up to, and then you can choose to take 1, 2, or all 3 of those rituals. If you randomly generated your character, it might list some for you. I'm not sure. But whether or not you take them is up to you. Again, you start with 1 ruin. If you get to 6, your character is lost. So if you take all 3, you're going to try to 4 ruin, right? So taking all 3 means that you basically have 2 hit points, right? If you don't take any, you basically have 5 hit points. Or you can be in between, right? So, let's go around. Parda, do you want to tell us if you're taking any rituals?
Yes, I'm taking the warding ritual so I can hold doors locked for a short amount of time.
All right. Which one is that?
Warding? Or hold.
Hold, okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's a warding sigil. Okay, there you go. I was like, ward is a different thing, but yes, hold ritual. Okay, cool. So your starting ruin is 2, and your burden is 5. Man, Parda's going to be interesting to watch. He's going to be going full throttle. How about Desiree? Are you taking any rituals?
1 was generated for me, and it is enliven, give flesh and breath to a human effigy.
Creepy.
Yeah, no, I was like, ooh, spooky. I like
That
it.
is super creepy. And I wonder, in both of your cases, if those rituals are related in some way to your drive or your background. That's something to think about. I mean, listen, we have somebody who wants to resurrect a cult who can place a warding sigil, and we have somebody who wants to prove the king's true nature that can enliven an effigy.
So does that mean like I can build a human-looking voodoo doll and then breathe life into it?
That is certainly a thing that you could do. There's a roll when you do it, but yes.
So I can make secret little itty bitty tiny spies.
You could make creepy little puppets, or if you find I don't know if we will, but you could certainly there's some straw here, I'm gonna make a mannequin or whatever, and enliven that, right?
And make it like a golem.
Yeah, that's another. These are all legit. We'll work it out, right? If you get to it in the game, these are certainly things that you can do. Oh, I'm already getting chills. Aram, how about
random.
you?
Yeah, I rolled up a 2 and a 4, which gave me Bewitch, Hollow, and Sleep. I'm going to be keeping Sleep and Hollow.
Oh, you're keeping 2. So what do those 2 do?
Sleep sends a person or animal into a deep slumber, and Hollow pushes a spirit from its own body.
And you're the one who's an escaped cultist. Ha!
Yeah.
Ha! Y'all see how this is kind of a little bit of a twisted take? Yeah. Yeah, I love random character generation like this, where in systems where that doesn't result in broken characters, right? And that's not like rolling for stats in D&D, right? It's just, and you're finding these cool interconnections between them. That's definitely cool. And then finally,
just being a Van Helsing fan, I'm just like, I am hollow. Sorry.
No, that's good. I'm digging it. I'm totally digging it. Sed, are you taking any rituals?
I am. I'm taking a guide, which is, we'll say I found some beautiful gold thread that was enchanted in some way when I was working as a squire, and I just started following it wherever it went, neglecting my duties, and I've been following this gold thread ever since.
Oh my gosh.
I actually thought you said bread at first.
He's gonna get that bread? No.
Gonna get the bread.
That is the plan though. Okay. So, we'll go through the different roles as we get to them. I am going to start you out. So I'm going to give you a little bit of out of character knowledge, and so this is basically to structure the game. So, Trophy Gold is played in sets. In each set, you have a particular goal that your characters may not always know the goal, right? We can talk about the difference between those where it's applicable, and it will be in this first one, actually. You'll interact with the world, right? And then when we get to where a role is needed, right, then we'll do the appropriate kind of role. Just so there are hunt roles, which is basically when you're exploring your environment, you're trying to reach your goal, and we say, okay, this could be risky, we're going to do a hunt roll, and we'll go through that. If you get in a fight, we'll go through a combat roll. And then a risk roll, when you attempt something that's particularly risky, this is kind of the equivalent of like a saving throw, sort of. This also affects when you cast rituals, right? Because rituals are super risky. Now that said, how you at some points will kind of have the opportunity to influence just how much risk you want to take when you do a thing. Okay? So I'm going to start you out. The set that you're in, where the way this is structured is, when you first enter, you will be in the false tomb. Your characters do not know that it is the false tomb, but the goal is to find the entrance to the true tomb. Okay? So through exploration and hunt rolls and so forth. Eventually, hopefully, you will find that entrance, and there's treasure to be found along the way as well, right? Here's the thing, just as a reminder, when you return back to town, which is safe, the adventure is out of the dungeon, town is safe, if you have not gotten treasure equal to if your share of the treasure, I should say, is not equal to your burden, that character is retired. They go to debtor's prison, or they go, they're overcome by their inability, whatever it is, right? And that character retires. And obviously, if they reach, as we noted, 6 ruin in the dungeon, then the character's done for as well. This is why, as I was pointing out, this is a dangerous game. But you are in an environment that doesn't want you there. Yes, Kaya, you have a question.
Is anybody else starting out with ruin already?
Everybody.
Yeah.
So everybody is, because you all took a ritual.
Okay.
And you always start out with 1 ruin at the beginning of the game. But yeah, all of you have, did somebody take 3 rituals? No, somebody took 2 rituals, right? So
I took 2.
So your starting ruin is 3, for example. So it's like you have 3 hit points if you subtract it from 6.
Can I decrease my burden by not taking the gauntlet?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
That's why I was asking you. You sure you want to take all of that? You can decide. You can take as little as you want before we leave, but once we set out, that's it.
Right. I still want to take everything else.
Okay.
Gauntlets.
All right. So, let's do the thing. You are at the entrance to the tomb of the Serpent King. I'm going to start off with one of those establishing questions. What do you see? So this is, you see the side of a mountain. Inside you see a long corridor going off into the darkness with some doors on the side. And there are decorations, old, ancient, ruined decorations around the entrance here on the hillside. What do you see in those decorations that tells you that this was once dedicated to the Serpent Kings?
What about a series of pictures of a transformation from human or humanoid to a snake person in ritual form that might have taken place, or that probably took place here?
Wow. Okay, so somebody was turned into serpent people. Anybody else have any, Yes.
And what about that serpent person devouring the sitting king?
I see where this is fitting into some of your characters' histories. This is good. This is real good. All right, so people are transformed into serpents, and one of them devours the king. Inside that corridor, as I mentioned, it's a long corridor with. Now that you have just stepped inside, there are 4 open rooms, 2 on each side, and at the end of the corridor, there is a large barred door made of stone. What do you do?
Does the door have any type of writing on it?
It does not. It has instead a heavy stone bar blocking the way.
If
I just wanted to know what my burden was without the gauntlet.
So how many pieces of combat equipment did you take?
I took the club, the sling, and the shield.
So that's 3 pieces, so you have 4 burden.
Okay.
would perhaps a skill or a knowledge in engineering help me to discern this door's makeup?
Yeah, so this is where we can do a hunt roll, I think. Um, you are exploring your environment. You're trying to understand how this door works or what's going on with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, take one light-colored die just for exploring the world. If you have a skill or piece of equipment that makes it easier, engineering as you said, take another light die. So roll both of them, and let's see what your high. And there's no. Importantly, your ruin can potentially increase in rolls where you have a dark die. There aren't any in hunt rolls. You're not going to. Hunt rolls aren't ever going to increase your ruin. Those are for combat and risk rolls.
Okay.
For skills, I have crafting construction. What can that construction help?
If you do an additional hunt, that could happen as well. So let's see first what Deserim does.
Okay.
I rolled a 6 and a 5.
So your highest is a 6. So you take 1 token. So there's nothing. Just remember that as a group, and y'all can write this down someplace. As a group, you have 1 token. I'll talk about what those tokens do in a moment. As you're looking at this door, it's sort of, by the way, it's sort of an out of character currency. It's not a thing that your characters know they have. It's a currency that you can spend in a moment. This door has, as noted, a large piece of stone hung on 2 iron pegs on either side of the door frame. It would take several of you to lift this. It's very, very heavy. Based on your hunt roll, you can tell that there is some sort of mechanism associated with those pegs that are suspending the bar. You aren't sure what would happen if that mechanism engages or disengages, but certainly those pegs that you can see behind them, there's these little gears and mechanics and levers behind that. What tokens are for, by the way, when you have tokens, at any time you can spend 1 token to find a treasure worth 1 gold, or you can spend 3 tokens to find what you came here for, which is the set of that, or the goal of that set, rather.
So did we start with 1 token, and so therefore we now have 2, or do we just have 1?
You just have 1.
Just have 1. I have these little glass mirrors I'm using as tokens.
Yeah, as long and you have them as a group, so you can spend time navigating the set and just trying to find treasure, or you can try to run through it quickly and get to fulfill the set goal, but with less treasure.
Gotcha. Okay. Could I engage those gears?
Are you trying to kind of lift that stone bar?
So we have to lift it first.
Yeah,
to
because those,
engage-
right? Because they are engaged with those pegs that hold up this this bar.
Okay. And all of us are there together.
Yes.
Then I would just turn to everybody and go. It appears that the slab up here on this that you have to push it, and then by pushing it, then perhaps they will open. And she's just talking very, very fast, and she's looking at it, and essentially like, we have to move this to get in, and if we move it, then perhaps it will gauge. I'm not quite sure if it's going to be a good or a bad thing, but I really want to find out.
And keep in mind that from this corridor, which ends in this door that you're looking at, to your sides, on either side of you, are 2 open doors into other rooms as well.
Maybe we should check the other rooms for something to pry or give us some mechanical advantage in pulling this stone bar off. Is there anything that sets the 4 rooms along the side apart from each other? Any distinguishing anything?
I'll tell you that as you poke your head in, you see that in each of these rooms, they're each identical in size, and as far as you can tell, in content, because what you see, each of them has a wooden coffin inside of it.
I would like to inspect the wooden coffins to see if there's a mechanism on the lid that will fire when opened. Because I am curious as to what's in the goodie bag.
So,
Do you want
I have
vampires?
no
This is how you get vampires.
Spears made mostly of wood, like, nail it down, whatever.
so why don't we do another hunt roll? So, do you
Fantastic.
have one light colored die, and another one if you have skill or equipment that would make it easier? Do you have a particular skill that applies, you think?
I am trained in trapping. I had intended that mostly to be setting traps, but
I think this applies. Yeah, so 2 light dice. What are your let's see what your highest die is.
my highest is a 5.
So take 1 token, but you encounter something terrible.
Yes.
So
Great. Fantastic. I love
yes.
it.
So tell me how you're interacting with this coffin. Tell me how you're inspecting it.
So I'm probably crouching at a little bit beyond arm's reach, checking the seams, possibly very lightly, taking a gloved hand to like dust away any like particular cobwebs, trying to see is it an airtight seal? Does it latch? At the latch, is there a gear or something that could theoretically happen? Are there holes that go to nothing? That is to say, dart traps and such. Just sort of checking the seams all around.
So as you're doing this, you're not quite as careful as you thought. And you find that one of these latches, you're kind of fiddling with it, and you fiddle with it a little bit too hard, and it unlatches, and the coffin springs open, and a cloud of poison gas comes out. So now I'm going to need you to make a risk roll. So,
That was quick.
yeah, this probably should have been a risk roll at the beginning, but it should have been more than a hunt roll. But I'm figuring this game out too, so it probably should have been a risk roll at the beginning. But that's actually better because this gives you a chance to roll again. So take 1 light colored die if the task is something you are skilled at. So we already said that's 1. Are you willing to risk your mind or body to succeed? I think you kind of have. I think it makes sense. Like you almost have to, right? I mean, it's up to you, but
like risk my mind or body to succeed, but also if I don't succeed, I get poisoned. So like I'm willing to risk some.
okay. So it's 1 dark die. Now, would you like to entertain a devil's bargain?
I would always like to entertain a devil's bargain.
So those of you who have played other games with these, this sounds very familiar. If you haven't, if those who are watching, let me explain. Devil's bargain is basically you taking a sort of calculated risk. A devil's bargain is you get an extra light die, but there is some consequence that definitely happens just for taking the bonus die. There's no guarantee that the bonus die will help you, but you will definitely have some bad piece of it. I would say that the devil's bargain is you'll get the extra light die, but you're definitely going to, if something's going to come out of the coffin. How about that?
Exciting. Well, something that comes out of the coffin might have goodies on it. So I say, who dares wins. I'll take the devil's bargain.
Okay. So you should have a total of 3 dice, 2 light and 1 dark. So let's roll, and first of all, see what your highest die is.
My highest is a 5.
Your highest is a 5. You succeed if there's a complication. What is your dark die?
My dark die is a 4.
Okay, good. So, if you included the dark die and it was equal to or higher than your highest light die, and higher than your current ruin, you would get an additional ruin. If you're unhappy with your roll when you do a risk roll, you can always add an additional dark die and re-roll.
Spicy.
So, and you can do that as many times as you want. Unless the dark die is the highest die in your roll. Once that happens, then you can't keep re-rolling. Something bad definitely happens. So, do you want to re-roll with an extra dark die and try to get a 6? Or do you want to stand pat on your 5? Or
5's
4?
fine.
Okay. So you avoid the poison. So this gas comes out, and you heard that latch, and your instinct as you were doing this you dodge out of the way this puff of greenish, noxious nastiness, and all of you see that. You're standing far enough back that the rest of you see it, but you don't breathe it in. However, inside that coffin, you see a dried snake skeleton rise up out of the coffin.
Hate that.
It is wearing a gold amulet, however. What do you all do?
I hide around the corner and pray that one of my companions can take care of it.
Excellent.
I'll hold up my shield in front of me to block any future attacks.
Okay. So you're just blocking. You're not using a weapon to attack it or anything.
Not right now, no.
Okay. What about Deserim and Aram?
Des will lift up their maul. I go, ah! I go and try to smack it.
Okay. What about Aram?
So as the gas comes out, I sort of try and slide roll. It's a little bit clumsier than I'd like it to be. Away. And as a frickin' snake skeleton the size of a human person comes out, I would like to brandish my spear, not attempting to stab because it doesn't really have the bits that you'd like to be stabbing, but to sort of keep it away, to sort of zone it.
Okay. So this is a combat roll. So, you've both already said how you expose yourself to injury or attack. Now, I would like both of you each to roll one light die, and this is going to determine this represents your weak point. So there's one light die, and say what the number is. It doesn't matter if it's high or low. 2 and 1. Okay, because in the combat roll, if any of the dark dice are a 2 or a 1, you're going to take some ruin. So, now everybody involved in the attack, which is just 2 of you, roll your dark dice together. So each of you roll a dark die. And what you're trying to do is, the goal is that if the total of the 2 highest dark dice, in your case there's just 2, you equal the monster's endurance, equal to or higher, then you defeat the monster. If any of the dark dice equal your weak point, you increase your ruin, or you can mark off a piece of your armor to ignore all ruin increases during a single roll. If the 2 highest are less than the monster's endurance and you want to keep fighting, you'll add 1 more dark die and re-roll all of them. So, you each roll a dark die. What do you get?
5.
1 and 5 is a 6. So, 2 things. First of all, who had the 1 on their... That was okay.
Me. Wait, that was...
Yeah, so if any of the...
I had the 1, you had the 2? Was it... I wasn't paying attention.
I got the 2, you got the 1.
I got the 1, okay.
And then I rolled a 1 on the dark die, you rolled a 5.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Myself.
Aram takes a ruin.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
So I will tell you 2 things. first of all, you're brandishing a maul, right?
Yes.
Okay, so your total was a 6. I will tell you 2 things. First of all, you have found the monster's weakness, because whereas the spear kind of just goes in between the bones that have no flesh on them, as that maul connects with it, the bones go clattering. The skeleton falls in pieces because skeletons don't do well against bludgeoning. So you got a +1 because you found its weakness. So you will want to mark that whatever you want to call this monster has a weakness to bludgeoning.
Fantastic.
This is what that bestiary is for, by the way. Because in the future, if you fight a monster that matches this one, then you already know you can use its weakness to get a bonus to your roll. So tell us what happens, Aram, that somehow that you got injured by during the fight. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that you were injured by Dez, although it could be. But somehow you got injured during the fight. What happened?
My initial assumption, given where the roll came from, had me thinking. So I'm standing there with the spear, zoning weird beastie thing. Dez comes in with a big ol' heckin' hammer, smashes the thing, swings for the fences, and honestly, a rib clocks me in the head at that point. Just bits go flying. I'm in the way of bits.
Interesting. So you kind of take this damage. You all see this. The gas dissipates, and among those clattered bones, as previously noted, there is this snake skeleton is an amulet among that and that amulet is worth a gold.
Can I have the artifact skill. Can I examine that amulet or see if it's more special than just worth 1 gold?
Yeah, you don't have to make a roll for this.
Okay.
On this one, as you're looking at it, and you're examining it, it doesn't have the sort of arcane sigils and runes that you would expect for something that has that sort of that has some magical ability. At least not on this one.
Okay. Well, that was unfortunate.
I'm gonna rub my probably now black eye, pick up the amulet, and be like, I'll carry this.
So yeah, be sure to mark that you have 1 treasure, one gold worth of treasure. The room directly across from it is similar in size, shape, and contents. The 2 that are closer to the door are a little bit larger than these 2. So I said they were identical in size and content. Really, there's 2 pairs of rooms. The front pair and the back pair. The front pair are the smaller ones where you are. And then the back pair still have the same looking kind of coffin, but a little bit larger.
Did we name the thing?
You have not. You tell me.
Not. It was a large human snake hybrid skeleton, or just a giant snake skeleton?
A dried snake skeleton that rose up.
What about Skella-asp?
Fantastic.
Sure.
Wow, I love this. Skella-asp?
Asp.
Oh, Skella-asp. I got you.
If I've got room in my backpack for its skull, I'm keeping it.
Yeah. So that reminds me, you definitely want to do. I forgot about a thing. Thank you for reminding me of this. So,
no problem. I've got your back.
Yes. Here's the thing: monster bodies can be sold for gold.
Ooh.
What happens is this.
You don't say.
When you get back to town, you roll a number of dice equal to the endurance you had to roll against to get it. Since you used its weakness, basically, that reduces the value a little bit. So when you get back to town, we'll roll dice. We'll roll 6 dice. It doesn't matter if they're dark. So 6 dice, and you'll get 1 gold for every 6 that you roll on those. So we'll get to that at the end. So just make a note that we have a Skella-asp corpse. What's up?
Does it have a rattler?
We'll find out when we get... Yeah, maybe, sure. Let's say that it does. Whether or not it's useful, we'll find out.
I want the rattler.
Okay, yes.
Earned it.
So that's a found equipment. It doesn't count against your burden. It's not combat equipment. It's just regular burden. So you got a maraca. I mean... Right. Do you want to inspect any of the other rooms? The other small room or the other two slightly largers?
I would like to inspect the front larger rooms.
Okay.
I'll inspect the other one.
Okay.
Being careful not to set off any poison traps as I witnessed.
Yeah, I'm gonna give every detail I know about the gas that I just choked down, and how it happened, so that doesn't happen again.
Okay. This is good. So let's do a hunt roll again, as you are exploring. Well, are you looking to open the coffin, or are you just looking around the room?
I'm just at this point looking around the room for any markings. I can use my myth skills or
Okay.
anything like that.
Use your.
I wanted to open a coffin.
Whew. So we're going to open the. We're going to first have the hunt roll, and then we're going to have a risk roll as you open a coffin. This is fantastic. So first of all, Sed, why don't you give us two? I guess that sounds like 2 light dice, right? Because you're using a skill.
Both 2s.
You encounter something terrible. So, but no tokens. So Sed and Parda are looking at this coffin. Parda's getting ready to open it up, but hasn't opened it up quite yet. Sed you're exploring, you're looking around the room, and you're looking at the coffin for any sigils, and you trigger this coffin as well.
I lose my balance and go, oh my. Just hit the,
Oh my.
In this one, there is a clay statue of a robed snake man sorcerer wearing a silver ring.
ooh. Is that the bad thing that happens?
Sounds like it might be a bad thing that might happen.
Could be. You've encountered something. You know that you have encountered. You know, out of character, you've encountered something terrible.
But in character, I just tripped and bumped this thing and...
Statue's not moving.
The statue is not currently moving.
Well, that's a beautiful artifact, Parda. It's a good thing I tripped.
Parda, what do you do when you see all this?
So I'm still near the coffin and I see him trip and hit a statue.
He opens up the... He's not that so he kind of accidentally pushes the latch a little bit open. Kind of maybe he stumbles as he does that, and that pops open the coffin and it has this what looks like a statue inside it.
Oh, okay. I'll walk up to the statue just to examine it. Would I be able to use one of my skills to see like what it is, like what's it made out of, like the construction, I have construction and craft as my skills.
Yes, I'm going to say that this one is going to be a risk roll because we already know that it's something risky. So you'll take a light die because you're skilled at this.
Yes.
Does anybody want to? So actually, we haven't done the risk roll quite right. See, we're learning as we go. Say what you hope will happen, and then all of us will figure out things that could possibly go wrong. So what is it that you hope will happen here?
Okay, I want to know what it's made out of so we know how how if it's how dangerous it is, and if there's a weakness to it, like if it's cursed or anything like that. So how if if we can touch it or not, or what would happen if we touched it.
Okay, so I'm going to say instead this is. No, I know that this is risky because this was the terrible thing. So, what are things that could? What do y'all think? What are things that could possibly go wrong here?
I think if he looks at it wrong or triggers it in some way, the clay transfers part of its material to his body, and his body transfers to the clay, making it alive. So, like, maybe his fingers turn into clay, and part of that statue turns into flesh.
I like that.
That's cool.
That's terrifying.
Aram or Desrim, any other things that could possibly go wrong?
I don't know. That's pretty cake.
It's pretty horrifying. That's pretty wrong.
Okay. The other thing that I'll say is it could be that this statue has something inside it. Or otherwise animates in some way. So these are the risks. So 1 light die because something you're skilled at, as we said.
Okay.
Would you like a devil's bargain?
I have a background skill from my squire days called aiding. Can I aid him in?
I think that makes sense. Sure. Yeah, let's add another light die in there.
Cool.
So I roll another light die.
Yeah, you'll add one to your pool.
Okay.
A devil's bargain, if you want it, you can take another light die, but there is definitely going to be some unintended harm from this clay statue. Up to you if you want to take that.
Okay, so I'd be rolling 3 light die.
That would be 3 light dice. Now, add a dark colored die if you're willing to risk your mind or body in order to succeed.
No.
Okay, so you're already going to have some collateral, some unintended harm, for sure, for the light die, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. I'm rolling 3 light die.
3 light die. Yep.
I'm taking the bargain.
Okay.
2, 2, and 4.
A 4. You succeed, but there's some kind of complication. I'll describe the complication, and then you describe how you succeed. So I'm going to tell you there's 2 complications because of the devil's bargain, right? One is that as you're trying to figure out what it's made out of, you break open a little piece of it, and some of this noxious gas comes out, and you're going to take 1 ruin from that.
Okay.
The other complication is that this... What's a good so, said, tell us again what you said could happen with that ring?
It transfers part of its material onto Parda, and Parda gets transferred onto the ring. So flesh switches places with the clay or the silver. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I'm going to say, since it's just a complication, the first part of this starts to happen. Some of that material rubs onto you, Parda, and it kind of tingles, and not in a good way. How do you succeed? Tell us about how you succeed at determining what this thing is.
I'll take whatever tools that I've had on me, just to gauge and examine it, what it's made out of, examine if it's made out of, like what type of clay it is, what could possibly, how hollow it is, if it's, like if there's something inside of it, so take any tools that I have, and just examine it, from afar, or from I'd say from a foot away or so.
Okay. So you breathe in this thing. You determine that this is just a clay hollow statue as you're measuring it and so forth. And that kind of makes sense that since some of the gas came out, not all of it came out, that's part of how you were able to succeed as you're measuring this stuff. But this ring is, and you haven't completely broken it open, right? You just kind of broke off a little piece of it, but you've determined that it is hollow. So there could be other things inside. And you have this ring. Do you do anything with this ring?
Am I holding on to the ring, right? Or is it still on the statue?
I think you can have it if you want it.
Yeah, I'll take the ring.
Okay. What do you do with it?
I won't put it on yet. I'll just hold on to it.
Okay. Do you want to do anything else with this? Does anybody, or including Parda, want to do anything else with this statue?
Can I? You said the coffin wasn't fully open, or
The coffin is the statue, the hollow clay. The statue you now know to be hollow is not broken open all the way.
I have a artifact skill. Would I know of any artifacts that possibly look like I know what they are? I've encountered them in the past, or a mechanism of similar make.
If you look at this ring, I will tell you that this ring, unlike what I told you before, that nothing in the room seemed to kind of have the sort of markings, this ring definitely does have magical markings about it, and both you and Parda can feel the power emanating from this ring.
Arda, careful with that ring, sir. That's quite a magical artifact.
Yes, I'm not going to put it on yet till I know exactly what it does.
Excellent.
Good call.
If you want to figure out what it does, you could make a hunt roll.
I'd love to do that.
Okay, so for the hunt roll, let's see. Tell me how you're figuring out what it does or what it is.
I'm going to. We'll say my current occupation as an antiquarian. I've come across various things with markings, and I have a small journal that I keep notes on, where certain markings that I just keep a record of the markings I've come across and possible effects they may have, and I consult that and examine it for a few minutes, just kind of going back and forth between my little hand pocket journal and examining the ring.
Cool. All right, so that sounds like that's 2 light dice, right? One for your
Yep.
skill, one for just for doing it. Yeah. What's your highest?
4.
4. Take 1 token, but you encounter something terrible. How many tokens do you have now, by the way?
I think we have 3.
3. Okay, so remember, anytime you can spend a token to find a treasure worth 1 gold, or spend 3 tokens to find what you came here for. So, you take a token when you encounter something terrible. The terrible thing that you encounter is this ring. So, first of all, you figure out what it does. I think that the ring itself is also the terrible thing. If you realize it is a cursed ring, if worn on a finger, the fingernail on that finger becomes long, bifurcated into 2, and pointed like twin fangs. Basically, your fingernail turns into twin fangs. That's what you know that it does. And it could be used like a poison dagger. Your fingernail could be used like a poison dagger when you stab something with it.
Oh, Parda, this will turn your finger, whatever finger it's on, into a, essentially, fangs of a snake.
There a butt attached to that, or
My guess is that it would be permanent, but I'm not sure.
that's what I was thinking.
Well, so the thing is, when you use it, it can harm you as well. And depending on what happens, your finger could even fall off and turn into a snake.
Oh.
Great. Who doesn't love
Ally.
snake?
Yeah, I'll just hold on to it for right now.
I'm sure that you could probably find somebody willing to buy it from you.
Yeah.
Kaya, you raise your hand. Like, you don't have to raise your hand. You can just tell us.
I don't like interrupting people.
So what's your question or thought?
Is there any writing on these coffins, or are there any murals in this hall of coffins that has any type of hieroglyph?
Like symbology on it, or
Yes.
or what have you? That is definitely a hunt roll. So 1 light dice just for exploring the world and asking questions about it. Do you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make this easier?
Let's see.
Can I aid?
Sure.
Dan?
I have tracking, I have research, and I have translation. Or engineering. Like, those are my skills.
Do you think you could? Do you think you could use any of those skills to make this easier? It's up to you. It's basically kind of depends on your approach, right?
Right. I don't think I could probably use research or translation at this time.
Yeah, maybe if you found something.
Yeah, if I found something, then that's something
Okay.
that I could that would be useful for. As for tracking, I could look for certain wares in the floor for where maybe people would spend most time, but outside of that, I can't think of anything.
Okay, so maybe not. But Sed wants to help. Sed, how are you using your aid skill to help?
I will. I have myths, and I also have skill of obfuscation. So if somebody's trying to at some point in time try to hide markings, I might be able to see that, someone smudged something out with some tar or graphite or something.
I dig it. So that's 2 light dice. Let's roll and see
Okay.
what happens.
5 and a 4.
So your highest is 5, so you take 1 token. So now you've got another token,
Okay.
but you encounter something terrible. Yeah, so as you're looking around, you're kind of feeling around, you're inspecting, you're looking at the coffin lids of one of the other coffins, and that coffin pops open, and another one of these skeleasps comes out. What do you all do?
I just smack it with my maul.
All right. Is anybody else going to join in the fight?
I will, yeah.
Okay. So tell us. So, so that's 2. Anyone else?
No, I go hide.
Okay. Fair. So we've
Running
got
with my pointy stick.
So, each of you. So let's go around. First of all, Des, tell us how you expose yourself to injury or attack.
I assume just being there.
Okay. Like just being in close proximity to it. That makes sense.
Right, because
Yep.
I'm looking very closely at this coffin and it's popping up and if it pops up and the lid pops up, either I'm getting hit with that lid, or it's coming at me. But I'm just like trying to reactionary take them all and hit it
Right.
where I know it's most weakest.
How about Parda? What are you doing that exposes you to injury or attack?
Well, I'm backing up. I'm grabbing the closest large rock I can find and using my sling, aiming it at the coffin.
Okay. And finally, Aram.
I am similar to last time as the person without a smashy stick. I've got a stabby stick. I'm going to be attempting to like basically just goat herd it, just jab it towards the big smashing hammer and the rocks.
Okay. So each of you roll a light die to determine your weak point.
I rolled a 3.
I rolled a 6.
Okay, so 3, 2, and 6. Remember what your specific one is, individual to you. Now, each of you roll... Well, we can do this one of two ways. Either each of you could roll a dark die and we add them up, or I can roll the dark dice here and we see. Up to you. What's going to be easier for y'all?
I don't mind rolling.
Okay, so each of you roll a dark die. Yep. 5.
Another 3.
So your total is 10. You destroy this thing. Do any of you have a 5 or a 3 as your weak point?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Aw.
So I think... So we'll get to how you take injury. Well, no, we'll take the injury first and then we'll do the victory.
Okay.
So, actually, you tell me. I'm curious. What is it... So you take 1 ruin,
Okay.
right? What is it that happens during the fight that injures you?
The the hand or that was partially turned into clay that was hit pretty hard and injured during the fight, so my hand is a lot more stiff and harder to move than before.
So it's not so much that the monster injures you, but that your the dungeon is affecting you.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love that.
You said I
And
take another ruin?
what?
I take another ruin?
No, just the one ruin from the fight. Yes, the one that you
So
are.
I took a ruin before, so should I be at another ruin, or do I only took one so far?
You took 1 ruin earlier.
Yes.
When
With the statue.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So yes, you take a second ruin now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
How much ruin are you at now?
4. 4.
Ooh, 4. Getting there. So the other two, do y'all want to describe how you destroy this thing?
I assume we probably already know what we're doing, so
Got a Stratton holding pattern.
yep, holds them in place while I swing away.
I stand in a slightly different position so I don't get domed by bone.
You know what that is? Growth.
Find, fix, and finish. F3. There we go. Yeah. So this thing is just smashed to pieces by your combined efforts. Again, you have another Skella Asp body to kind of divvy up and sell for gold when you get back to town.
So are you saying I have 2 rattles now?
Right. And
Starts clicking the heads together like castanets.
and you also find another one of those amulets on this thing.
I will take that
I wouldn't mind taking that.
Oh,
I feel like
will
part
put
is
it
the
on
one that got a
usual
little.
Yeah, I could use some more gold.
I feel like he's earned that one.
Yeah, I'll put that on them. But I'll try to like break one fang off of one of the heads.
So you have either one more room to explore or that door that you found at the beginning.
I feel like at this point we should stop talking about
Door?
these Athens. We should go for the door.
Okay, that's good. That's real good.
Mainly just because if there's good stuff in here, imagine what good stuff is behind a very big, heavy door.
Also, at this point, like, These, each of these freaking sarcophagi have had a neat thing inside it. And given the fact that we've had an ouchie per neat thing, I feel like we should change that ratio up and start going like one ouchie or like 5 neat things.
Hey Kyle,
is-
did I see any iconography or anything on the walls? Nothing.
There's nothing in particular. So there is iconography similar to what you saw on the entryway.
Okay. But
Um,
nothing that gives any new information.
No,
I did 5.
you did
I
well.
just-
Yeah, let me think.
There's
I
not a
think
consequence.
that. Yeah, I think that you do see some iconography of a Snake Man King, like kind of like a Yuan Ti if you played D&D, right, and seen those, and surrounded by what look like other snake people doing some sort of act, whether it's worship or whether it's magic or something else, like something's kind of emanating from them. And then, of course, just a horde of people that serve him.
Okay. Then I will take out my journal. I love how I just Caleb Widowgas that. I take out my journal. And you see, like, on the outside that it, has, like, some kind of writing or picture. And you see her, like, flip it upside down and start from the back and sketch something out. But you don't see anything on the page. And then she closes it and puts it back in.
Diz, are you practicing writing or what's?
It's a protection. It's a protection for all of us. See, and like so she'll turn it right side up, and then you'll flip through the pages, and on the pages that are facing you, there's writing, and then she'll flip it upside down, and then she'll go like this, and then she'll kind of look for some form of light, and then she'll kind of balance it, and you'll see a reflection of an invisible ink on the back side of the papers. That's where I keep all my secrets. And she'll put it back in.
Wild.
I approve.
I don't know, it said journal and invisible ink, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go with that.
I dig it.
Yes.
No, I totally dig it.
Super cool.
My bad, Manny.
Move into the room without chump change.
So, what do you want to do about this stone bar on these pegs?
Just
There was
brute
nothing
force
in
it?
there that we could use to leverage it. Could I use my maul to leverage it?
You could try. Yeah, that makes sense. So, we're going to do a risk roll.
Okay.
What is it that what is it that you hope will happen?
I hope that probably it's going to have to be like a one side at a time thing. So using the maul and hoping that it's made from good iron and good steel, we, on one side, all of us, stick it underneath, and all of us with our combined strength get one side off, and then go and do the other side off. If I understand the
So there's 2 pegs. This thing is
Right.
sitting on top of them,
right.
right? So you're trying to kind of hold the peg down as you take off the bar? Is that what you were saying? Or
Is it one of those things where it slides into the pegs, and so you have to slide it up and out?
yes.
Then we're doing one side at a time, going over to one peg and getting it up and over so that it falls,
Okay.
and then going and doing the same thing to the other side, because I don't know if we're gonna be able to get it both at the same time.
Okay. So, 1 light colored die, because you're using a piece of equipment. So you'll get 1 light colored die for that.
And I think engineering would fall into this.
Right. So you got just 1 light color. No, it's just 1 light colored die in general for that. So, another. If you want a devil's bargain, do you want a devil's bargain?
I always want a devil's bargain.
No. First of all, does anybody want to offer her a devil's bargain before I do?
What do you mean? Like,
You could. A common devil's bargain might be some collateral damage. You get separated somehow. You sacrifice an item. You betray a fellow treasure hunter. You attract the attention of monsters. Those sorts of things. So here's an easy one, right? You get an extra light die, but your maul breaks. The handle of the maul breaks. I don't know if you want to take that one, but that is That's one. Does anybody else want to offer her one?
So
I can. Oh, go ahead.
So we have one light die. And engineering would not factor into this?
So, not yet.
Okay, because it's a risk die, correct?
Correct. Because you're using the now you could use engineering and not the maul and keep the light die. Like you could be kind of just fiddling with it and using your engineering knowledge rather than using the maul to pry it open, and that way you're not risking the maul. Or you could use, yeah, I think this makes sense. You could say one light-colored die for engineering.
Uh-huh.
Another one, the Devil's Bargain. You're going to use the maul also, but it's going to break.
For 2 light-colored die?
Uh-huh.
So I can offer to take damage and add a light die. Is that correct? Or
you could offer a Devil's Bargain of, yeah, you'll take collateral damage, but they get an extra light die. Sure. The Devil's Bargain. Okay. So you're not risking the maul. You're using engineering, and somehow Sed is going to take some damage.
So I will say, like, I'm closer to the door, so if this goes wrong, maybe it slams down on my hand or something. Ouch.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Now, there can be a dark-colored die. Yeah. There can be a dark-colored die if you want to risk your mind or body to succeed. And always, if you're performing a ritual, then the dark die has to be there. But nobody's cast a ritual yet. Right, nobody's
so
cast.
I just have 2 die, and I feel like the 2 light die. I feel like I don't know if we need to add a dark.
Okay.
Die right
you.
now.
It's up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just go with what I have. 5.
5. You succeed, but there's some kind of complication. I'll describe the complication. You describe how you succeed.
Okay.
So yeah, you succeed. You push it up and over. You kind of find the right leverage point based on your knowledge of how these things work. When the bar comes down, Sed, who's kind of helping you, it smashes down on his foot, and it breaks your foot. And so you'll take a ruin for that. And the complication is that this peg starts to move up. The other one is trying to move up, but the bar is still on it enough that it's not moving up. But this one is starting to move up.
So the pegs are in like tracks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now that you've moved the bar, you can see it trying to do that. So, what do you do? Do something quickly.
I do nothing.
What about
I am screaming.
What about Aram and Parda and Dez?
Do we get the sense that having the pegs move at not the same time is something terrible?
It looks like it might jam the door.
I think that the pegs moving in general is probably a bad sign for you.
Oh. There wasn't like another little door that we could have gone through instead of the...
No, unfortunately.
We're like, oh shit, we forgot the door that's like...
There's a doggy door in, and you can squeeze through it. No, it's not like that.
That would add insult to injury for Sed.
I feel like we've come this far, might as well get the other side off.
So the peg is rising slowly.
Yeah, I feel like whatever horrors past this door, we're going to want to get into it, so we might want to get them on the same track.
Yep. So, could I try to hold on to one peg to slow it down so that we can get the other peg to go?
Sure,
Or
that is definitely a risky task. What could go wrong, everybody else?
Everything.
I'll tell you one thing that could go wrong. One thing that could go wrong is a trap goes off.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I feel like the gears, once they're grinding and not actually like making progress, could make enough noise to draw the attention of something horrid inside this tomb.
That's certainly possible, right?
I just came up with one, but I don't want to say it. So I don't want it to happen.
Okay. So, do you have some occupation, background, or training that will help you hold this thing down, or equipment, or using the environment in some clever way?
Is there a stone or anything that I could jam in it?
Sure, let's say yes.
Then I will use engineering. Because
Okay.
engineering you can use for everything.
That's the whole point, is you just have to go with the clever way to describe it. Yes, you can use all these things for almost anything. So you're trying to shove something in. You're not trying to hold it down, it sounds like. It's not like you're trying to shove something there to block the mechanism. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want a devil's bargain? You could take another light die, and it's more effective because you're using some piece of your equipment to do it. If somebody has some equipment they could sacrifice for it.
I don't think I have any. Okay.
You could sacrifice an item.
Hey, what about that 24 feet worth of chain?
Good call.
Yeah, you want to kind of wrap the chain around it real
Yeah.
fast, but you're going to lose the chain. That's the devil's bargain, is the chain will not be available to you now.
Well, I would have to ask permission from Parda whether he would be willing to sacrifice the 24 feet of chain.
Or
No
maybe
pressure.
a piece of it. I don't know how you'd cut it off, so yeah, you don't have any
I don't know either.
chain bolt cutters.
Do
So-
that, or I'm throwing in my maul.
What do you think, Barda? You want to use your chain here? I mean, that's what equipment's for, right?
Yeah, I'll see if I have anything else on my head. I mean, would the manacles be any work better, like the tying it, or no? I'll use a chain.
Yeah, I think the chain makes sense here. Okay, so that's 2 light dice. Are you willing to risk your mind or body in order to succeed?
Yes.
Okay, so you add a dark colored die.
Okay.
So you got 3 dice, 2 light and 1 dark. Roll the dice. What's your highest?
A 6.
6. You succeed. What was your dark die?
A 6.
Oh, and your current... Okay, so you are going to add 1 to your ruin.
Yaha! Huzzah.
So first of all, tell us how you succeed with this chain to keep this peg from moving.
How high above it is me? Wow.
You know what?
How
you know
high-
what? I understood you
Yes, because
perfectly.
that happens to be all the time. I say things. Yeah, I get it. So how high above you is it? I'm going to say it starts out kind of more or less at chest height, and it's moving up towards the top of the door. So maybe it's kind of like right about here to you.
Okay, and how big are the chain links in comparison to the peg?
Well, it's 24 feet of chain, so...
The chain link.
Right. So I'm saying that the links themselves are probably like a couple of inches long.
Okay, then I will try to wrap it around the peg and pull it down, and then wrap it around the hook that the stone sat on so that it can't go too far above it.
Right. So what do you think? I think you just take some physical injury here. There's not a magical thing that's warping
I feel like
you.
probably my hand gets stuck in it at some point and it clamps it.
Oh, so you kind of grind your hand a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's like, so I'm wrapping it around and it gets caught, and then it's like when you're looking down at your feet and you're not paying attention to the rope, if the rope's getting pulled and it snags around your foot and pulls you over, snagged around my arm and pulled me up.
I see. So you got caught in it for a minute and it kind of messed. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you've injured your hand significantly and taking 1 ruin. But now this peg is not moving. You can see it trying to move, but the chain is holding it fast. The stone bar is on the other peg. What do you all do with that?
Well, Sed is just sitting on the ground, grasping his foot, and just rocking back and forth. So he will.
I would examine it to see, like how it's constructed, to see if I would be able to open it easier. Like if there's another way to open it besides just lifting the bar up. So like how I wanted to see how it's constructed to see if there's an easier way of opening it besides just lifting the bar up with another heavy object.
Okay. So as you're looking at this, I'm just going to describe in general. No, when what you comparing the two, when the weight is lifted off of the hook or peg that's holding the bar, right?
Right.
That peg is going to move up.
Okay.
And it's the weight of that thing that's holding it down and keeping it from moving.
Okay.
Do we think that bar is we need that bar to go up or be removed to get through the door, or do we?
Yeah, because the door has to open, and the bar is preventing it from opening.
Right.
So we want the jammed bit up level with the...
Right.
Yeah.
I say we just push the bar up, or push.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a risk roll. So is Parda, is there something that you are skilled at here, or you're taking advantage of a piece of equipment or the environment in some way?
I'm skilled in construction, but I'm not sure how that would help.
I think just kind of working with
For
that.
craft,
Yeah, I think the construction applies, right? It's something that you're skilled at, moving these sorts of rafters and so forth, and you know kind of how to slide it the right way and not get your fingers caught and lift things over. We should have said what could go wrong. Well, one thing that could go wrong, obviously, is that whatever the trap is goes off, right? Anybody else have anything else that can go wrong?
That's it. It attracts
Okay.
the creature.
Devil's bargain. You could sacrifice a piece of equipment to make this, but you'll sacrifice the equipment, not just use it, to get an extra light die.
I feel like one of us could have a crowbar in the other 3 slots in any of our bags. We could probably just jam in there.
Absolutely, that's what those other 3 slots are for. Oh, I have this crowbar that I didn't mention
Reaches into
before.
MacGuffin, pulls out crowbar, offers it.
Yeah,
I forgot about that as well.
yeah, quantum
Me too.
equipment. Okay, so who's going to mark off a piece of equipment for that? Okay, so Aram hands over a crowbar that he just conjured out of his backpack. So that's 2 light dice. Are you willing to risk your mind or body in order to succeed? Parda.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, we already have, I mean, depending on what happens, that strap could come down, right? So if the trap comes down, something bad can happen, but we'll see. So, because that's one of the bad things that could go wrong.
Right.
So it's 2 light dice.
Okay. Alright, 6 and a 3.
So you succeed. How, so, yeah, you pull this off without injuring anybody else. The bar doesn't hit on anybody. But that peg is moving up. The trap hasn't gone off yet. One of the pegs is held down by the chain that Dez has finally extricated herself from, holding her hand. Sed's got a broken foot. This peg is moving up, though.
Doing
Can I-
great.
Can I get up from the ground? And so we think that if the pegs are even, or if they both reach the top, the trap goes off. Like, do I want to stop the one below the chained peg before it gets even? Because that's when the trap is going to go off. Or I guess I wouldn't know that.
I don't think you know that yet.
But stopping the bar at the point at which we could open the door, but before a trap could theoretically go off, would be good, and we could just
Well,
go.
at this point, you can open the door.
Oh, okay. So we just want to stop the peg. So I have tar. Would that work in jamming up the movement, just gumming it up to a point where it...
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So that's 1 light-colored die. How much tar do you have?
6 uses.
Okay. So, Devil's Bargain, you can get an extra light die, but you're going to put some extra tar in there and use 2
Yep.
uses of it.
Let's do it.
Okay. You willing to risk your mind or body to succeed?
Nope.
All right, 2 light dice.
Whew. Good thing I added that extra tar, because it was a 1 and a 6.
So tell us how you succeed.
I start with the pot of tar. There's like a brushy applicator that's in there, and I just start jamming tar in there. And I look at it, wait for it to see if anything happens. Nothing happens. Just start jamming a lot more in there, and it finally sticks.
Excellent. It sticks, and you can now open this door to the next area of the dungeon. What do you do?
Oh, my foot really hurts.
My arm's not that great.
I'm fine. I'll go first.
All right.
Could I use like anything around to like construct a sling for his broken foot?
Yeah. Do you have it? You could use some found equipment or something like that.
Like some of the wood from like the coffins and stuff from around the room. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. You could use some of that. Sure. You can help with some kind of splint or something like that.
That's awesome.
That's very good. Aram, as you open this, I'm going to tell you what you see, and then we're going to end the session for today. You open this, you see a burial chamber with 3 wooden coffins painted with stylized sleeping snake people. The coffin in the middle is larger and more ornate than the others. And also, there is one door off to the... this is sort of a elongated room. And off to the side, there's another passageway. And that's where we will end things today.
Whew.
Y'all are
Yeah, we're
getting
not dead yet.
ground up and spit out. But you're not dead yet, as you say.
Yet.
Yet. Not yet.
Are there ways to fix
I'm pretty-
ruin, or once we have
Yes,
it?
when you get back to town. That's what going back to town. At some point, you decide: do we want to keep pushing? Have we found enough treasure? Do we think that we have enough treasure from the monster bodies, and we want to go back and heal up? And there's rules for that. Or this is sort of a how far do you want to push your luck before you decide to turn back?
Can I purchase plot armor in town?
That would require sending me a bottle of very expensive whiskey. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's what it costs.
Okay, we're gonna go around do just quick outros. I can't remember if anybody's watching. Is there something on variant roles after this? I don't.
Later.
I
in
think
the day?
later. I think you're right. I think it's later in the
I
day.
think 8 tonight. There's a game with Maria.
I can
and
check.
Ty and all that.
Yes, at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Oh, it's Darkness Beckons from using Urban Shadows. So that is not to be missed. That's a fantastic game. So that's going to be in about 4 hours. So we're going to go around. What I would like for you to do is, first of all, tell us if there's anything that you've got going on you want people to know about. You've got some project happening that you want to plug. And then second of all, stars and wishes. Stars are, so you give a star to another player for something or for a moment or whatever that was pretty cool. And wishes are things that you would like to see next time. Things that could be better, just different fictional elements you want to bring in. Like, hey, I would like it if there's more of this sort of thing. Or I would like it if there was less of that sort of thing. Whatever that is, right? Those are wishes. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a thing you want more of. It could be like, hey, stop, whatever. And if there's something in particular, of course, that you need to talk about offline, all of you know how to reach me. So we're going to go around, and I'm going to start this time. I remember who I used to start things last time, so we're going to say Kaya.
Hey everyone, I'm Kai Gaston. You can find me on Twitter at Crit Charisma. I have a show that premieres a new episode every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is called Nerd Out. It is a show where I got to sit down with some awesome people and talk about topics of their choice that they're passionate about and just have a pretty decent conversation in an atmosphere that is not going to tell somebody to shut up about what they love. So I got to film all that at Gen Con, and this Tuesday is going to be with Taryn. We're going to be talking about beer and brewing, since that is his job and his passion. And it was just a really fun conversation to have, so stop on by and say hello. I will give a gold star to Oh man, Jake for coming up with that statue that transfers its clay to another person while stealing its life force for them. That was pretty gnarly, and I really like that.
Thank you. Sorry, Parda.
Yeah, sorry, Parda, but that was really cool. And I wish for more weird things for me to translate.
More weird things to translate. Duly noted. Okay.
Give me, something from Mummy was like, "Death come upon swift winds to whoever opens this chest." I really like the Mummy.
I'm literally writing that down right here. Excellent. Chase, how about you?
Yeah, I am Chase. You can find me at Fromonger on Twitter. I am also in a game with Kyle on Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. We're playing Blades in the Dark, and we have a fantastic party that ranges from the fluffiest little cinnamon rolls to, like, actual awful people. And we're all sort of, like,
You
progressing
are the
along.
fluffiest cinnamon roll in that group. Let's be sure to specify.
Very fair. It's because I haven't gotten a chance to kill anyone yet, but...
You've been resisting, but sooner
Fair.
or
I
later.
have had several opportunities, and I have resisted less and less each time.
He's the closest thing to a good guy we have in the party.
For now.
It's all relative. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a fantastic game. Check that out. Gold star, I'm going to throw out to Dez for yeeting a snake into me. That was real cool. I appreciated the second one where it got yeeted into not me. That was slightly cooler. But yeah, just like we were talking about offline, just strong buff women doing strong buff things.
Listen, I'm very good at yeeting other people with other people.
Yeah, that is a theme that I have observed with you as a player. I
And
believe
as
the
far-
phrase in the past was, "I'm gonna beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker."
That's a fighting style, yo. Like,
It is.
and as far as wish, my wish right now is my wish for every first session. Just, I'm super excited to watch everyone settle more into the system, get the pacing a bit, settle into their characters a little bit more. Just stuff that always happens in the second session that you're excited for.
Second session's always better than the first.
Yeah.
First session has character creation though, and that's real fun.
That is fun, but also, like, for me as a GM, it's definitely I think I have a better feel that I get at the beginning of the session of when to do a hunt roll versus a risk roll. So, kind of working through that. We're working it all through together.
Getting settled.
Getting settled. Jake, how about you?
I'm Jake Friday. You can find me on Twitter at Jake Friday. And on Wednesdays, I play in Dungeons and Deductibles at 7:30 Eastern. I play Red Fireson, based on Ned Ryerson from Groundhog Day. And I
I love you. I love you right now.
Needle Nose Ned the Head. And then Mondays, I run a game on Venture Ventures, our own little channel, where I'm running them through Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus, and that's at 7 Pacific, so late on the East Coast. And then Star, I'd like to give to Parda for fashioning a splint lickety split using his construction knowledge. And wishes, I would like, I don't know, I feel like it's a little too early. I mean, I feel like we're doing great. It's like
That's fine too.
experience a little more of the system, but yeah.
Sure. And then finally, Mike. Well, not finally, because then I'll go. Next to finally, Mike.
Mike, at Silent Chariot, at anywhere. I'm usually streaming on here. You can find me. Wishes, just learning the game more, figuring out my character more. And the gold star, I'd say just the whole session. I really enjoyed learning the game more, learning everyone's characters, just learning the rules.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. So I'll do my stars and wishes first, and then I'll do kind of my outro here. First of all, I enjoyed playing with all of you. It's always a pleasure. It was good to meet Jake and it was good to finally play. I have run tech, to be sure, for a game with Mike in it, but I haven't actually played with Mike before. I ran tech for a Critical Role thing that Samwise Game G did on our channel that Mike was in, and I've played with Kaya and Chase before, and I always love playing with both of them and just talking to them. Some of my favorite people. But specific in the game, stars to Jake and Mike for just throwing themselves into... Jake's character held back a few times, but then when it was time, like, yeah, I'll be the one to have my foot broken by this thing. Just like throwing yourself and just absolutely just sacrificing yourselves to danger. And Parda similarly, like, yeah, I'm going to take all of this stuff and, walking with the higher burden so that I'm prepared to help everybody and do the... And also I just opened the coffin. I always love when, as a GM, I'm like, here is the button. Do you press it? And everybody's like, oh, I don't know. One player's like, I pressed the button. Mm-hmm. That's so much. That's so enjoyable. So thank you both for that. Wishes. My wish is for me to have a better understanding of when to do risk versus hunt rolls, and to kind of get comfortable with this game, because I really like it when I read it, and I want to get comfortable and I want to play this game more often. So that's just, me growing. Y'all did fantastic, and you certainly leaned into the spirit of, tell me what could go wrong, and, play to win but play to lose, sorts of things. So and be curious about the world. So thank you so much for that. As noted, I run Blades in the Dark on my personal channel on Saturday nights at 7 Central. Yes, with a number of folks, almost all of whom are also on Variant Roles, plus one or two other fantastic humans that I am proud to have there. Ranlim, and those of you who know Jehus the Moose, and Cole, and
Crime Nat,
and Forda. Yeah, so those of you who know Nat and Fortiver, all really good people. And it's not always this exact same set of... It's not that all 6 people play every week. But life being what it is, every week somebody's got something going on that they can't make it. So, it may be that as people life, we'll invite more people to join that group. We're well into the campaign now. They hit tier 1 now, those of you who played Blades in the Dark. That was finally a good thing. So we've played like 6 sessions so far. Also on my personal channel, I stream science fiction-y games, computer games. EVE Online, Kerbal Space Program, which isn't really fiction, but it is more science. It is fictional in some ways. Stellaris, occasionally other things like Darkest Dungeon and Dwarf Fortress. So it's kind of a variety of games, but lately it's been a lot of EVE Online. Spaceships, MMOs, that sort of thing. And I have other stuff that will be coming out this month because a bunch of game jams on itch.io, and it is National Game Design Month in parallel to NaNoWriMo. It's Naga Demon National Game Design Month. But none of those are out yet, so I'll let people know when they are. So that's what's up. Thanks again. We'll catch folks next week at the same time, same bat channel. Be fun times. Before we go, let's find somebody to raid. Right? Right.
Yep.
I'm looking, but I'm also open to suggestions of friends of the channel who might be, or anybody else that you know that I don't know, that you're like, oh, these people are... you know who I think might be still streaming? Valdrianth and Cole is on that, and they are doing an extra life thing. So let's raid Valdrianth. How about that? Yeah. They, Cole's on it. They're doing, fundraiser. It's a charity thing. So let's support our friends. Cool. I will see you folks over there. Bye.
Bye.
And I think we should be there.